If you were in charge of the Mac division at Apple, what would be your first priority?
I wish Apple would come out with this, which is
Welcome to Macpreneur, the show for seasoned solopreneurs looking to streamline their business on a Mac. Unlock the secrets to saving time and money with your host and technology mentor, Damien Schroers.
Hello. Today I have the pleasure to interview David Shriner-Cahn. His weekly advice program has been named by Forbes as a podcast to power up your ultra-lean business. David has also been recognized as an entrepreneur that will change the way you communicate by Inc. magazine. David is the podcast host and community builder behind Smashing the Plateau, an online platform offering resources, accountability, and camaraderie to high-performing professionals who are making the leap from corporate career track to entrepreneurial business ownership. Starting your own business is hard enough without having to go it alone, and Smashing the Plateau is David's solution to the problems that keep entrepreneurs up at night. And as he likes to say, with the help of people just like you in our community, you will be able to do more of what you love and get paid what you're worth. So David, welcome to the show.
Damien, it's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, we had a podcast guesting swap, so I was on David's show end of April, and I'm really happy that you are able to share with the Macpreneur listeners what you are using in your business. And so let's jump to your current setup. So which Mac are you using now to run your business?
I use a MacBook Pro.
Is the MacBook Pro still with the Touch Bar? Is it still the Intel version?
No, it's the Apple version, no Touch Bar. I missed the Touch Bar, actually.
Did you have one? Because I never had a MacBook Pro with a Touch Bar.
Oh, yeah, I did. I had one for 5 years. And there's some features on the Touch Bar that are not replicated on the keyboard.
When they announced that, I saw the potential. I was really happy with my MacBook Air at the time. But then now it's finished. They completely stopped offering this kind of feature. So what made you choose a Mac, actually?
So it's a funny story, but my wife wanted a Mac. And she is not particularly tech savvy. I have an engineering degree, worked as an engineer in the early part of my career. So I'm pretty good with the tech stuff. And I had used PCs for years, starting in, I think we bought our first computer in 1988, very early days of PCs. And, so I was good. I knew the DOS language, that was pre-Windows. And then when Windows came out, I knew how to use all those things as well. And she worked in an environment where they were using Mac, and I had a small network with Macs back in the 90s before Apple sort of exploded the way it did starting about 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. And then it was a point where I had my own business and she needed a laptop and really wanted to get a Mac. And the deal was she was going to get the laptop first and use it for a while, and then we were going to get a desktop to replace it for her, and then I would inherit the laptop, and that would then become my computer. So that's actually how I got started using Macs. And that, by the way, that was around 2009.
And so you had your first Mac, and what made you then continue using a Mac?
Well, for one thing, I got used to it. Mm-hmm. They last way longer than PCs. And one of the things that really made a huge difference was Apple's support policy.
Okay.
Right. So, as I just mentioned, I am relatively tech savvy, and I was part of corporate America until 2006. And in the 90s and sort of very early 2000s, I was the IT department in my organization. It wasn't super complicated, and it didn't take a huge amount of time. But as things got to be more complicated, we finally got to the point where we really needed to hire somebody who was dedicated to tech support. We did that, and then I offloaded all of the tech stuff that I was doing onto this new person. And that was kind of the beginning of me wanting to rely on others as much as possible for support. And yes, I can take care of a lot of things myself, but having good live support, I find, is a game changer for my business.
So let's switch to the applications. What are the three or few apps that you use and that you rely upon for running your business?
Well, there are way more than 3 Apple apps that I use to run my business. I can tell you a few of the ones that I really like and that are specific to Apple. One is the podcast app, no surprise. I'm a podcaster, and being able to produce and distribute podcasts through Apple has been a game changer. I also particularly like the Notes application because it's really easy to jot something down and it's instantly available, across devices. I like Preview. I like the way Preview works for viewing PDFs, and you can actually make some small edits in PDFs using Preview. So those are the ones that come to mind. I can run you through the litany of all the Apple apps that I use regularly. Is way more than 2 or 3.
Yeah, if I can piggyback on Preview, for me it's one of the unsung heroes of macOS. It's a very powerful application, and now with the latest version of macOS, with the Sonoma version, it's even possible to fill forms it will detect the underlines, it will detect the checkboxes to make it easily fillable. And it's a great app. And when it comes to third-party applications or even services, what do you rely upon?
I rely on Dropbox.
Dropbox, okay. For the business files, for the podcast, for everything?
For anything that I want to store in the cloud, where collaboration with others where they may not be part of the Apple ecosystem.
Okay, very good. Next, I have this aha moment segment of the show. So which tip or trick did you discover recently on your Mac that you wished you knew before?
Yeah, I was thinking about this. I don't know that there's any that I've discovered recently that I wish I had known before. I wish I knew more of the keyboard shortcuts because they actually increase your productivity quite a bit. Yeah, so I came up with kind of a blank. I mean, there are tricks that I use that might be specific to Mac. So for example, in Preview, you can add a signature to a document. I don't know. Actually, when I first discovered that, I don't think it was available on any other PDF reader, at least that I knew about. Maybe you could do it in Adobe Photoshop, but I don't have Photoshop or use it. So I found that was like super handy. And I still come across people that have a hard time adding signatures to PDFs. They have to print it, sign it, scan it, upload it, right? Which is way more time consuming, and you need multiple devices and pieces of software to do that versus a mouse click.
Yeah, the trick with the signature in Preview is you have different ways to add it into Preview. So you can use the trackpad. If you have a trackpad, you can sign on your trackpad. That's one way of creating the signature. You can also use your iPhone and use your finger on your iPhone and draw the signature. And you can also use the webcam. So what I did was I signed on a piece of paper and then I showed the piece of paper to the iMac webcam and then it scanned the signature.
Yeah, I think that's the way I did it also.
Yeah, because with the finger, I was not precise enough to do that with the finger. And what is really nice is that the signatures in Preview, actually they get synchronized through iCloud with the iPhone and the iPad. So even if you are on the go, you can open a PDF with the equivalent of Preview on the iPhone, and you will be able to find the signatures and add them there as well.
I didn't know that.
And the way it integrates with Mail is such that you don't even need to download the PDF, then re-upload it. If you reply to an email that has a PDF in it and you edit it, you can add the signature immediately in the attachments attached to the reply.
Wow.
And you can do that from your phone.
Pretty cool.
So, yeah, it happened to me once that I was on the go and I needed to sign something, and I was super happy with that. And so you like using keyboard shortcuts, right?
Yes. Yeah. For example, I always have multiple applications running simultaneously, and I end up jumping back and forth a lot. So I like the keyboard shortcut to switch applications or to switch windows within an application.
There is a nice freeware called KeyClue, Keyclu. I don't know if you know about that.
I don't.
I will put also a link in the show notes. So with this application, with KeyClue running in the background, whichever application is at the forefront, you can choose the trigger. I think for me, it's command twice. If I double tap on the command key of my keyboard and I keep it pressed, after 2 seconds or so, I have a panel that appears and that shows me all the keyboard shortcuts for the running application.
Wow.
And so that works across, because the keyboard shortcuts are stored in a file and it's standard across all the applications on macOS. And so that application KeyClue is just exposing basically all the keyboard shortcuts that you can find in any app that is currently running.
Good to know. Damien, you're a wealth of information.
Yeah, that's why I created Macpreneur, basically, as well. Huh?
That's a great service, and I love your show.
Thank you very much. And so when I decided to restart the Macpreneur guest shows, I thought about which question could I add that make it a little bit special and that's a little bit out of the ordinary. And I thought about the idea of putting my guests in the shoes of somebody very high at Apple, right? So if you were in charge of the Mac division at Apple and you were responsible for both hardware and software, what would be your first priority?
Well, I don't know that this would necessarily be the first priority, but this is, I guess, on my wish list. I wish Apple would come out with this, which is a cloud storage system that would be easy for non-Apple users to access. So for the purposes of collaboration, like the portion of the cloud storage where I collaborate with team members or with clients, where I needed to share files, that could be done cross-platform. And the other is to have control over, on the individual file level, whether those files were available only in the cloud or also locally. Right? So I know I recently listened to your episode where you talk about the cloud storage systems, and it totally resonated with me, because the only reason I use Dropbox is because I have team members that some of them use Google Drive, some of them use OneDrive, and the way Dropbox works, it looks like it's a native application on your Mac in Finder, and it behaves just like Finder, but it's totally accessible, and there are a lot of different controls you can have over folders and files when it comes to sharing that just aren't available in iCloud. So I wish Apple would do something similar with iCloud, because I would prefer to have, like, when they create something that's native, it is really seamless with everything else. They do a really good job of making sure that everything is seamless. But sometimes they button things down so much that it's not accessible for non-Apple users. And I think some of the other cloud storage systems are specifically designed so that people that are not part of the ecosystem can access them.
Yeah, it's it's two problems. The first problem is people who are not in the Apple ecosystem. And then the second problem is the way they've configured macOS to deal with iCloud Drive files. It's a shame, because when I did some research for that episode, I realized that actually iCloud Drive would be the only service that would offer end-to-end encryption, meaning complete privacy on our files, which is not the case with Dropbox, not the case with Google Drive, is not the case with OneDrive, because they have also the decryption key. Even though it is stored safely on their servers, if they are compelled by a governmental agency, they can give the key and show the file that we are storing on their servers. Okay, well, thank you very much, David. Where can people find you online?
SmashingThePlateau.com is the central hub for everything that we do. That's where you can access our podcasts, our free newsletter. We send out daily tips to help corporate refugees start, run, and grow their own business. Those are free. You can access information about our upcoming workshops and what we do in our community there as well. So SmashingThePlateau.com is the best place.
Thank you for sharing how you use your Mac. I will put all the links in the show notes, the links about the tools, and also where you will be able to find David online.
Thank you, Damien.
My pleasure. So that's it for today. If you found this episode useful, please share it with a fellow solopreneur and tag me on Instagram. My handle is @MacpreneurFM. And until next time, I'm Damien Schreurs, wishing you a great day.
Thank you for watching the Macpreneur podcast. If you've enjoyed the show, please leave a comment and share it with a friend right now.